Hello, welcome to Forum 360. I'm your host, Leah Love, and thank you for joining us where we have a global outlook from a local view. Today, I am so excited. We are going to talk about a very, very important topic that is in regards to the youth of our communities. And we have with us Jerome Moss, who is the Executive Director of Guys and Gals Community Partnership Incorporated. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
So we are going to jump right into it and talk about how we can create more game changers with our youth who are going to be leading us in the coming years. So tell me a little bit about your organization and why you're passionate about working with the youth.
So the mission and vision of my organization is to promote the physical and psychological well-being of individuals and communities through holistic education and preventable health programming. My organization is derived from my father's old organization. My father was a hair designer. He traveled all the world, around the world as a hair designer. And his organization business was called Guys and Gals International Hair Care Solutions.
Okay.
So from a legacy standpoint, thought it was ideal for me to take that. Mm-hmm. And as we're talking about our youth, well, I'm passionate. I don't just work with youth, because a lot of the youth I've worked with over the years, they're young adults and adults. Yeah. So I work with the youth, the young adults, and also the elderly, and things of that nature. So again, that's that whole focus of holistic education. And it's a passion of mine. I honestly think, no, it's not I honestly think, I know. This work has chosen me. I didn't choose this. This work chose me. I had a whole nother path and ideology that I wanted to do growing up, you know. However, this was part of it. I just didn't think it was going to be this much in depth, but I'm here.
Here we are.
I'm here.
All right, so what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that are facing today's youth?
Educational exposure opportunities. Educational exposure opportunities where our youth can see themselves in a different light. Opportunities for them to learn, to grow, what I'm saying. So not just going to a basketball game, right? But going to a basketball game, but meeting somebody, not just meeting the NBA player, or the NFL player, the Major League Baseball player, but meeting the person who's the owner. Meeting the person who's the project manager, meeting the individual who's the facility director. You know, all those things and all those jobs and all those opportunities and careers that are outside of what we see on TV. You know, being able to expose individuals to different construction opportunities, you know, there's different educational opportunities that expound them, that they can see themselves doing that. And that's you know, and we could take that and move with it as long as we want, but just giving them opportunity that a lot of people tell them you can't do that. But when they see it and they talk to somebody who was just like them, they're like, oh no, not only that I feel I could do this, I know I can do this now. I never thought about it. And as adults, it's the same way. Now, and I know we're gonna go on, but our adults need these same educational exposure opportunities to grow as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was watching one of LeBron's men, and I can't remember his name, but he did behind the scenes, and he says, you know, not everybody's going to be LeBron. He said, but everybody can have the opportunity to be Rich Paul or, you know, the ones who are doing the marketing, the ones who are doing this and who are doing that. And just, again, highlighting those other areas that people can really develop their skill set in, because not everybody's going to be on the court, on the field. So that's really good to know. How do you think that we can address those challenges? So you talked about that we can take them and give them more exposure. How else can you address that, or how else can the community provide those opportunities to help to address those challenges?
Well, one is funding, right? One is funding, and one is something that we talk about called equity. A lot of spaces people are exposed and are able to get certain things, get certain education, get a hand up on things where a lot of inner city youth, they don't, or a lot of what we call disadvantaged, okay, underserved youth, underserved individuals, young adults. They're not offered some of these chances, some of these opportunities. And there's a funding, it's a disparity in funding, right? Some of these opportunities, they cost some money, right? And that's a barrier, right? And I think just create more opportunities where those different opportunities, those different educational exposure opportunities are more readily accessible,
Okay.
right? From a financial standpoint, and also from a, and I would say a cultural standpoint, definitely cultural.
Okay. So what role does mentorship play in youth empowerment? And what qualities do you think would make a great mentor? Because I know some people think, oh, I can't be a mentor because I don't have X, Y, Z. So how would you kind of break that to let anybody know that they could be a mentor?
So anybody can be a mentor, but not everybody should be. Right. My father used to always say, you can learn a lot from a lot of people. Mentorship is key. I still have mentors. I wouldn't be where I am at today if it wasn't for mentors. It's a quote. It's a quote that I have. I got this quote when I was working with Alchemy Inc. Been a supervisor for years under Dr. Kwame Scruggs. And the quote reads, he or she that travels without a guide, it could take 200 years for a 2-day journey. He or she that travels without a guide, it can take 200 years for a 2-day journey. So that guide is very, very, very important. That guide, that mentor can show you what you can be doing, can expose you to things that can make you grow, and also can show you things you don't want to be, right? It's both and. It's not just one side or other. And some of the qualities in a mentor, especially from the youth that I deal with, and I'm gonna speak kind of towards me, is being trustworthy, right? Being able to relate to that individual. It's a phrase from coaching that we always say is, we don't care how much you know until we know how much you care. And as a grown man, I'm the exact same way. And so it's that whole understanding piece. Youth don't want you to keep talking to them. Sometimes they want you to listen. It's almost like a prayer, right? You just keep talking to God and not listening. You can't listen to God talk to you. And sometimes a lot of times our youth are telling us things, and we're missing it because we're quick to, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And so I think it takes some humility and some understanding on our parts, or on the mentor's part, to understand that, no, you don't have all the answers. And sometimes these youth, their voices are very vital, especially nowadays moving forward. Their voices is very vital. We can't shut them down. We can't. It's a new day.
Now, I know every generation says, these young people are da 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 da. So I know that we have that perception right now in a negative way, if we're speaking that way towards youth. And there are a lot of youth who are doing really, really good work. So what would you say are some common misconceptions that, we kind of put on each generation that we really have to stop and rewind and reset and approach differently?
Ooh. So that's a loaded question.
Oh,
okay.
As you were just talking, it just came to me.
So we go back to that holistic aspect, right? We look at how we are being viewed, from what lens that we're being viewed from. We're talking about an incident that traveled all over the world, that happened in one city, but then on the other side, like literally 5 minutes away from that event, right? It was just as many people. It was about health awareness, it was about love, it was about community, and you ain't hear nothing about that, right? So sometimes we focus differently. And I believe it's been a systematic push over the years to put people in certain lights than others, right? And to continue to perpetuate that propaganda towards these groups of individuals. And it pushes and it pushes, and things that's behind that system move. You know, we're talking about disadvantage. We're talking about, you know, school system. We're talking about education. We're talking about food deserts. We're talking about all these things holistically that build up. It's not just, oh, these kids is where they at right now. It's, you know, where were they at in the 80s? And what was going on in the 80s? And what was going on in the 90s? And what was going on in the 2000s? And what was going on 10 years ago? And did all of that culminate to where we at right now? I think it's a thread through that. I don't think I know it's a thread through that. But sometimes we don't want to address the thread. We want to address what's going on right now. Like people talk about gun violence. Where the guns coming from? I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Now, listen, I was just in another country, and weapons were outlawed, and I just couldn't believe that I was in a country where weapons were not, I mean, from mace to a knife to guns, right? None of that was allowed. And you were able to walk in peace. And I just, you know, it drives me crazy that we can't have that for our country that is very rich in knowledge and, you know, just so smart and intelligent.
And powerful.
But we digress, right?
And powerful, yes, we digress.
And powerful. So can you, and if you are just tuning in, we are talking to Jerome Moss, who is the Executive Director of Guys and Gals Community Partnership, and we are talking about empowering tomorrow's game changers. And so, you know, I wanted to take a look at where we were as a foundation and how we can get to building those game changers for tomorrow. So, can you share some success stories that you've had with some of the youth that you have worked with?
I have a lot of success stories. So, you know, some of our events, some of our young brothers and sisters, you know, that I worked with, they come back. And the reason why they come back is because I impacted them some type of way. You know, when a youth or a parent or adult says, you know, I'm coming back, I enjoyed myself, you know, thank you. I think that's a success. You know, just to say, well, one kid did this and one kid did that. Yeah, I have a few of those, right? But more importantly, is just those individuals that I was blessed to be around when they were 12 or 13, and they see me at the gas station when they 25, 26. And Mr. Moss, man, what's up, man? Look, hey, man, I just want to know. You know, and I love that.
Yeah.
That's the success story.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the material stuff, that's the success story. You know, is what are they gonna say about you when you leave this earth? What are they gonna say about you? Like how are you using this space to glorify, you know, God and the ancestors? Period. People gonna say negative, people gonna say positive, but my success story is built through my ancestors, you know.
All right, so let's say there are a group of other organizations who are like, hey, what are some of the things or practical steps that we can incorporate as we are addressing youth empowerment?
So some of the core steps that guys and gals, the core steps that we utilize daily, well, I utilize daily, obviously, you know, are built from the Nguzo Saba principles.
Say that one more time.
The Nguzo Saba principles, the Kwanzaa principles, right? So you have unity, right? You have self-determination. You have collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics. You have purpose. You have creativity, and you have faith. You know, what do you believe in? I don't want to tell you what to believe in, right? You believe in whatever you want to believe in, but does it work for you? If it works for you, good. If it doesn't, let's talk about that. All right? Because there might be a flaw in there where we need to reevaluate your thinking a little bit. And so those principles for me. Right?
Can you expand on those principles?
So from a unity aspect is understanding that it's not you. It's actually those around you. Like I live my day thinking about, well, what can I do for Miss Leah Love, right? Because I know by doing that, the thread is just many people saying, well, what can I do for Jerome Moss, right? You know, if we want to tackle something that's very huge or minuscule, it's better to tackle it together, right? It's better to have good minds together. You know, self-determination is you know, not only believing in yourself, but believing in the people around you, right? Believing in your purpose, or believing in why you're here. Collective work responsibility is that collective work. It's understanding that, you know, we did this together. And in order for us to do it the right way, and I preach quality over quantity. Quality over quantity. In order for us to be more quality over quantity, we collectively have to be responsible in everything we do. Cooperative economics is self-explanatory. You know, if you selling something, let me buy something for you. You know, I'm selling something, buy. You know, like come on, like you know, share some love,
Support, yeah.
right? Yeah, cooperative economics. You know, we could talk about how the dollar leaves and comes in and things of that nature, but hey, you know, support. If you got it, support it. And sometimes that support is not just monetary. A lot of times that support is your talent, your time. It ain't always your finances, right? And purpose, and understand, you know, what your purpose is. Everybody has a purpose, but a lot of people don't get pushed into their purpose. Other cultures, as soon as they're born, they have a purpose. So a part of the Nguzu Saba, part of something that's integral in what we do, on our summer programs, all of our programs, we explore the African day names, the Akan African day names. Because there's cultures that when you're born, you have a purpose. And you have a purpose, and they hold you to that purpose. It's when we come into, you know, more of an American society where your purpose is put on a TV and people say, well, that's you. Creativity. I mean, I'm looking around in this room. I'm looking around as I move throughout, you know, society, and I'm seeing creativity all around, right? And that came from somebody's mind. You know, that came from a vision of something. So empowering youth, empowering people to say, hey, man, be creative. Your creative is great. You know, that's why we have art museums, right? You know, your creativity is wonderful. Your creativity is needed. And faith. You know, like I said, I believe in a higher power, and I know what I know. I can't tell you what you know, but I know what I know. And I believe in order to, you can judge what somebody does, or you can judge what they believe off what they do. You know, and I think sometimes from a faith standpoint, we have to understand who we are before we can go out and start saying, you know, what we believe in.
Thank you for that. So let's say somebody has given you unlimited resources, right? You can do whatever you want. What would that look like that you would change in what you're doing now to empower you? So,
somebody gonna steal my idea. Oh. But no. If I had unlimited resources, I would go get some land, a bunch of land, and I'll build a housing structure. You know, and that land, I'll build a compound.
Okay.
I'll build a compound. You know, you'll have your play, you'll have your education, you'll have your living quarters, right? You'll have all the amenities that you need to survive and live, right? It wouldn't be super hooked up, right? We don't need all of that. But it's gonna be nice. But But we're going to be able to provide everything that guys and gals provides, and also other individuals. There'll be opportunity for other individuals. It'll be a multi-purpose space, right? And it wouldn't just be for us. It'll be for everybody. But we could house those youth and those parents and those mothers and those individuals that need housing. We could bring them in and have workshops and groups, and we could have a place where, you know, some real healing is being done. You know, not to say it's not being done everywhere else, but you know, as it relates to, you know, what would you do? Oh, that's my vision. You gave me that, I would say, hey, because I see it being done right in front of your eyes.
So you mentioned the parents. What can parents, what conversations can they have with their children to continue this? Because it's a village collective that everybody has to play a role in with empowering the youth. So what can the parents do, either continue doing or maybe do differently?
So one of the things they can do differently is differently and continue doing is when a child is born, read to that kid. You know, read to that child. Them kids that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, they need to be read to every day. They need to have books in their hands. You know, they don't need to have the tablet and the phone. They don't need to be watching the TikToks and stuff like that. They need to be doing reading work, even if they don't know the words. By the time they 2 or 3, they can tell you what the book is. Even if they don't know how to read the words, they can tell you the pictures of the book. Yeah. That holds a lot of things. A whole lot of things. And then, you know, some of our parents, we have to be very careful. And as a parent, I do this too, because I know I ain't the most perfect person, and I ain't gonna try to be. But we got to be very cognizant of what we're allowing our kids to see us do. Because some of our most difficult kids, you can streamline them back to certain families and certain things that's happening in our community, certain individuals, you know, and their upbringing. So we got to be very, very careful. And I think we, as a society, needs to offer more programming, more opportunities. I said educational opportunities, but our parents need to, when those opportunities come, try to get your kid there. Yeah. You know, try to get your kid there.
Now, what can the schools do?
So mentorship, though, especially as a woman, right? And even as a male, find other individuals that can help you with your youth. So sports programs, after-school programs, you know. Find other males that you feel that not just to go to a game or go to this event cheering or whatever that because you want to glorify your kid, but somebody who's going to not necessarily care about the wins and the losses, but is going to care about that kid becoming a good member of society.
So what can the schools do? What can they incorporate?
More culturally relevant teaching. More culturally relevant educators.
Okay.
All right. Our youth are learning different. So I see a lot of different opportunities for the education system to change and move. And I love how a lot of districts are moving to this college and career academy type. You know, you go to school and then you're looking at some career exploration. I'm an educator, right? So I love education. However, in these days, I think our youth are bored with education. So we have to spice it up for a little bit. You know, we got to look at opportunities that can push them right into career paths right now. It's a lot, and from a discipline standpoint, over the years, the discipline outlook has been more penal. So it's been a educational prison pipeline type setup. people will fight you and say, no. And I'll just say, well, let's go back to the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and let's start talking about the things that have been very successful and why they're not in there no more, or why they are pushed over there into that district and not in that district. And them districts only 5 minutes apart, or them schools only 5 minutes apart. So it's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things that we could pinpoint from the education system, but culturally relevant teaching, subjects, and educators.
All right, in your last 20 seconds, what would you tell a youth as a nugget that you would want to leave to them?
Trust God and believe in yourself.
All right, that's it?
That's it. Trust God and believe in yourself.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us some information, some tools and resources that we can go back and help the youth in our communities and pass that knowledge on. I am your host, Leah Love. Thank you for joining us for Forum 360, where we have a global outlook from a local view. Have a great week.
Forum 360 is brought to you by John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Akron Community Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Blue Green, Electric Impulse Communications, and Forum 360 supporters.